Man, ELF offseason kicks off tomorrow. So much to get into. Base coverage, we're back. Let's go.
We doing everything they talk about. You know I'm everything a boss about. Not putting work and gotta toss them out. I'm really biting, they just barking out. I'm really riding, they just parking now. His street, what to talk about. See the big H when I'm walking out.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Base Coverage. I'm your host, Jamal Clay. Base Coverage is presented to you by our partners over at Knoah Teamwear. And we're back. ELF offseason for the 2023 season kicks off tomorrow. We have 18 teams. Things are about to get crazy. Base coverage is back as we're going to be, breaking down some of the signings, coming to you every Friday, talking about who's going where and what big moves have been made, and talking to a couple guests along the way. But hey, we're back, man. And there's a lot of things to get into heading into this offseason starting tomorrow. And the first thing I wanted to talk about was offseason last year and some of the trends that we can expect this year. So, again, offseason kicks off tomorrow. One of the trends to look forward to this offseason is on the offensive side is what's going to be the dynamic or the trend when it comes to American imports. Last year, over half the teams went with the quarterback receiver tandem for American imports. It's interesting to see, with 18 teams now, how many teams continue that trend, follow that trend, what teams, decide to maybe go quarterback, running back, or, maybe, have a dual quarterback, European quarterback, and use those A's for other slots. Obviously, last year, you can see that worked out for Hamburg for quite some time with having, Gene and Lamar on the outside as running backs. For Berlin, they had quarterback and running back tandem. But like I said, over half the league went with that quarterback receiver tandem. So that's one of the things that I'm going to keep an eye on to see who's matching up with who and how teams are going to build their roster going into this offseason. Now we flip it to the other side of the ball, defense. On the defensive side, it's been pretty open in terms of mixtures, but probably the most favorable one would be a D-line and an American at a defensive back. One thing that I have noticed from, I would say, year one to year two is that some teams are, possibly going with, the two American imports on the defensive back side and using, other imports for their front seven. Obviously, Frankfurt did that last year. Excuse me, they were one of the first to do it. But I think with more teams, and at least from what I'm hearing, that's a possibility. You may see more teams go that route on the defensive side when it comes to tag teaming their imports. So that's gonna be interesting to see there. Second thing, the European talent out there. All right, you guys have the most leverage into heading into this all season, right? With more teams, that's gonna spread the talent out even more throughout the league, especially in Germany where we do have 6 teams currently. The European talent does have the most leverage, and especially on the offensive line. The offensive line is, good offensive linemen are hard to come by. So it's going to be interesting to see who prioritizes, those guys, where those guys end up going. It's going to be hard for a lot of hometown teams to keep those homegrown players, especially when they can make money elsewhere. But we'll see what happens, and that's going to be interesting, as we kick off tomorrow and see who signs where and what moves are being made starting this week, how that's going to impact, the rest of the offseason heading into the 2023 season. So that's another thing to keep an eye on is, the European talent has the most leverage heading into this offseason. Lastly, one more thing, touch base on that, with European talent being spread out equally more because they're being recruited heavily, that's going to have a more dynamic impact on the coaching, being able to develop and coach the guys and techniques. And that's why I think you're seeing a lot of teams, go with guys who are very heavily experienced or have, college or NFL or CFL experience at the coaching level and bring those guys in. But again, we'll see what happens. But lastly, I think the one thing that I'm going to be intrigued about, excited about, is to see who is teaming up with who, or who, for example, who's leaving their old team to team up with another team. Like, for example, Wael Nazari, first year, he was with the Berlin Thunder, leaves Berlin, goes to Frankfurt, right? Kyle Kitchens, defensive player of the year, actually 2 times defensive player of the year, leaves Leipzig to goes to Berlin, recently just re-signed with Berlin for the 2023 season. So, a lot of recruiting has been, going on behind the scenes, and, all that's going to play out to see who goes where heading in to this all season. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see who's going to make the big signings, who's going to, sign with who, team up with who, and, ultimately which team is going to build the best roster, because there's a lot of questions out there. But that's something we'll see starting this week. Starting tomorrow, actually, November 1st, as the new league year kicks off. So, next topic. I got questions. About a lot of teams in terms of the direction they're going. So, three teams that I want to talk about: Barcelona, Rostov, and Istanbul. And my question is what's the plan? You're not seeing really a lot, being made from the Rams. We haven't heard anything about them, what they're going to be doing or what decisions that they're going to be making. I don't even know if they have a coach yet. Same with Rostov. Obviously, Dash Robinson just announced, he won't be returning. Are you going to be able to sign Malik Stanley? They desperately need a quarterback, and they don't have a head coach right now either. And then another one is Barcelona. I haven't heard anything, but I'm speculating. Is Zach going to be returning back to the Dragons? I don't know. I don't see, they lose Coach Andrew to Ryan Fire, but there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes in Barcelona that, I personally don't know about, just, again, speculating and hearing. So I'm curious to see what Barcelona does this offseason, because I don't know if I can 100% say if Zach Edwards, maybe Kyle Sweet would be returning, but again, that's me speculating. I'm not breaking any news here, so we'll see what happens. The Vienna Vikings. I'm getting running back vibes from the Vienna Vikings. They're coming off a great season. They have great homegrown players. It seems like those guys are committed to that organization. So I think Vienna's going to be one of those teams that may have the least amount of splash moves. I can see them bringing everyone back. But my question is that going to be enough? All right, because now we're going to 18 teams. A lot of guys are going to be recruited from Vienna. Will they leave? I don't know. But, with the talent being spread, is bringing those guys back, or are you going to be able to bring those guys back? Is that going to be enough to repeat? We'll see. But like I said, I got questions. I got more questions. Paris is probably the most anticipated team heading into 2023. I think people have been waiting for Paris to join the league since after the first season. Now, there's a lot of talk about like their homegrown guys and how they have the most talent, or some of the most talent from the homegrown guys, and I believe that. But are you going to be able to keep and recruit those guys to stay, or are you going to lose some of those guys when people come shopping in the Paris football market? So, this Paris team, out of the 6 teams that were just added, this Paris team is going to be one of the most interesting ones to keep an eye on, because we want to see if they're going to be able to live up to the expectations people have for them. So we'll see. Lastly, 2 teams desperately need a quarterback. All right. The Raiders of Tyrol. Obviously, you lose Sean Shelton, who becomes the athletic director of Munich, and then the Hamburg Sea Devils. You made it to the championship 2 years in a row. Unfortunately, you fell short twice. One was an American quarterback, Jadrian Clark, who's now on the Ryan Fire. Another one was Sally Cisse, who has been questioned all season. But what do the Sea Devils do? Do you try to go after, a European quarterback, maybe like a Jan Bainwright, and keep, your guys like a Glenn or like a Lamar or Gene as weapons? I think that'd be an upgrade, and maybe provide that offense with a little more pass game that they didn't have last season. Or do you go after an American quarterback? And if you do that, you're going to lose Lamar or Gene. If, again, not saying you're going to automatically resign them, but, we'll see what happens. Again, I got questions. And this week, some of those questions will be answered. And, maybe weeks to come, some of those questions will be answered. But, there's a lot to look forward to as we kick off ELF free agency for 2023 starting tomorrow. Lastly, some teams that I'm keeping an eye on. One, the Munich Ravens, right? You get the reigning MVP last year in the league and a legend in all of Europe, and Sean Shelton from the Raiders. What type of effect is he going to have on the Ravens in terms of, recruiting and bringing guys in and talking to talent? Maybe some guys say he played with. I don't know. And then they have a big turnout for the for the combine, over 250 guys that are showing up. So the Munich Ravens are a team that I'm definitely keeping an eye on because, again, they're one of 6 teams in Germany, and you're going to have to dive into and be able to recruit that German talent as well in order to, build your roster and stuff like that. Next, the Stuttgart Surge. I mean, it's documented. The Stuttgart Surge in 2 seasons are 2-20. They're the worst team, worst organization in terms of record-wise in the ELF as of now. However, you did make a splash sign in bringing Jordan Newman from the Schwäbisch Hall Unicorns, who has had a lot of success there, and he brought over a couple of his coaches. So the Stuttgart Surge is a team that could turn it around quick. And I'm not sure what the new conference realignment is going to look like, but you're still going to have to go through, to my knowledge, at least as of now, the Frankfurt, the Vienna, the Swarco, are you going to be able to recruit guys to compete with those teams? I think the coaching alone is a big step. It's a great first step for them. So the Stuttgart Surge is another team I'm going to be keeping an eye on heading into the off season. Next, out of all the 6 new teams, I'm interested to learn most about the Anthroners. I'm just being frank, I don't know much about them. I'm interested to see who they're going to bring in. Maybe talk to them a little bit in terms of their philosophy, in terms of like their history and stuff like that. But the Anthroners are the most. The Anthroners are the team I'm most intrigued about in terms of who they're going to be recruit to bring over there to Hungary. And then lastly, I think as of right now, when we talk about, building stability, keeping your guys, being able to build a championship team, I think the Berlin Thunder and the Rhein Fire are off to a great start. And I think they're front runners heading into this offseason so far. With Berlin able to bring back the core of their guys, all right, and their coaching staff. Obviously, they released Jock Crawford, but we want to see what they're going to do on offense. But defensively, they were able to play well down the stretch and, almost had this team in the playoffs. Same with the Rhein Fire. You make a move halfway through the season. You bring in Jadrian Clark. You just re-sign them. But also you bring in a mind, an offensive mind like Andrew Weidinger from the Barcelona Dragons to pair up with Jim Tomsula and that coaching staff. Who they gonna bring back on offense? Do you re-sign, Halen Kofi, or do you Nathaniel Robitaille on offense? Do you go after a running back? Maybe you bring a jock and give them a running game, or I don't know. But we will see what those 2 teams do. I think those 2 teams are probably ahead of the other teams right now in terms of what they've done. But that's all we've known, and all that's been reported. So we'll see what happens there. But as I mentioned before, man, I'm so excited to kick off this all season. Base coverage, we are back tomorrow. I want to know who's going to be the first team to make a signing. Who's going to be the first team to make a move? Who's going to be the first player to leave their old team and join somebody, right? There's a lot of superstars in this league. What's going to happen with them? Who's going to return? I don't know, but I'm interested to see, and it's going to be exciting. So, quick episode, man. Nothing too crazy. I just wanted to let you know that we back. Base coverage is back, and our first episode is going to air on Friday as we break down some of the signings, and I have a special guest joining me. So thank you guys for tuning in. And this is the first of many times because it ain't going to be the last time we chop it up. Let's go.
Nobody. Hard work, they don't know about it. Hard work, they don't know about it. Hard work, they don't know about it. Animal.